Hello and welcome back to the Cosmic Acad. In this video, we are going to learn array and slices in Go. What are arrays and what are slices in Go? We'll see that here. So, an array in Golang is like a fixed size shelf in your kitchen. Okay, imagine you have a spice rack with 5 slots. Each slot can hold one spice jar, and no matter what happens, the spice rack always has exactly 5 slots, right? Once you set the size of the shelf, it cannot grow or shrink. All right. So let's see that how can we create those shelf, or we can put the jar inside those shelf. So in terms of Golang programming, we are going to do the same. We are going to create one array, and how can we create array? For that, Golang says, okay, you need to define the variable, and then this variable should be of type array. This variable, or you can say this container. Now this container is nothing but shelf inside a kitchen, and this shelf should contain a specific number of jar. So I will say, okay, spice rack, and then it is going to be, let's say, of length 5. It is going to be of type array, and then this time we need to define the size as well, because array says it should be of a specific length, maximum that much of item you can keep inside that array, right? And even if there's no item in the array, it will be of a specific length 5 only. You cannot grow or shrink the space of that specific array. So okay, we have a spice rack over there of size 5. That means we can put 5 jar over there in the kitchen, and then I can say, okay, this is a spice rack, and how can we put jar inside that spice rack, right? So you can use this square bracket over there, and then we can say 0. And in array, every item inside the array is nothing but a collection of same kind of data type. All right. So let's say if this is an array, we are saying, okay, this array will contain string only. That means all the data which is getting to be stored in this array is going to be of type string. If we'll try to put certain other data type, it won't allow us to do that at all, right? And how can we assign the item to the specific array? So array says you will have index of the specific item of the specific container. Using that index, you can be able to assign, reassign, or mutate the specific variable data or something, right? So here I will say, okay, and one more concept in the array is, array says array index starts from 0, not 1. So I'll say, okay, spice rack of 0. In the 0th position, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to put salt, right? And then I'm going to say, okay, that's at 0th position. I'm just going to copy paste, since we have 5 items over there. So I can say 0, 1, 2. Let's say at 3rd position, I won't keep anything. And then on 4th position, I'm going to keep, let's say, sugar. This time I'm going to put bottle, or you can say water. And this time not sugar, salt. Actually this should be salt, and then this should be, let's say, pepper, and we have turmeric. Let's say this time turmeric. And we will say at 4th position, this is not the exact array item, this is the position. At 4th position, we are going to say we are going to store cumin, right? So we have all these items. We are going to store this inside this spice rack, and then let's see how it is getting stored. So if now I want to see this spice rack, what is exactly stored over there, so I can say, okay, let's use print functionality here, and I will say spice rack. Let me just save it and see how it works. I will just clear it from here and run this program. You can see we have salt, pepper, turmeric, and cumin over there. But then this size is actually 5. Where is one more data, right? We have not kept any data on the specific position. That means this is the 0th position, this is 2nd. sorry, 0th, 1st, 2nd and 3rd position, you can see there's no data. That means it will show as empty. Alright, and then how can we verify that if the specific index or the specific position will contain this item, or you want to access the element present on the specific index or a specific position? So for that we can say, okay, just use this bracket, square bracket, and then inside that you need to put index. So this time I'm going to say index 3. Let me just save it, and you can take out the value from anywhere, not anywhere, but from any index if you want. And I will just run this program and then we'll see if that works. Yeah, it works, but value is getting empty. That means there's no value on that specific index because we have not assigned. So let me just assign one more value on position 3 or index 3, and this time I will say pepper is there, salt is there, everything. Okay, let me just assign chili. I will save it and run this program once more. You can see chili is there, right? We are able to actually access this specific item using its index, right? We just provided the index and then you will get the value, what content is there, correct? So just imagine this, you have a spice rack of 5 different, you have a spice rack of length 5, that means 5 jar will be placed over there. And then if you are cooking something, without seeing the actual value, you want to access a specific value or something from that specific spice rack. How can you do that? Okay, you will say chili should be at index 3, so you will just put your hand on a spice rack and go all the way along to 3rd position or 3rd index, correct? So for that you are just counting it, right? 1, 2, 3, it will be there in the 3rd index. So 3 is going to be nothing but index in this case here in the programming. So if you will take out that 3rd item, that means you are going to get chili. Cool. So this is how you are going to access array element from and inside an array. Cool. So we know that we can define the array like this, and then we also know that we can array should be of a specific length, and we can define we can assign all those items inside array, and also we should be able to replace those items as well. So for that we can say, okay, spice rack, let's say we have is assigned chili by default, but then here I will say spice rack of first item, let's change that to something else. So I'll say let's change this to something else, and the data is of course going to be string because we know that array contains similar data type, right? So here I'm going to say instead of pepper just use something else, and I will say cinnamon powder. Alright, so powder, let me just save it and run this program once more. We'll see that what exactly we are getting. This value should be actually replaced. Okay, I don't need this. This time we are not going to access a specific item, but this time we are going to access the whole array. So I'll say, okay, run this and see what value exactly there. So we can see now here instead of pepper we have cinnamon powder, right? This is how we are going to update the array item values, but in each of the cases we need array index to update those values so that we can perform any operation on the specific array. In case of map, we know that we can use key value pair since we are storing value in the key value pair, but in case of array we are using index. Alright, so this is the concept of array in Golang. Alright, and then we are going to perform certain more operation on this array, and how can we do that? So let's say this is how we are defined, this is how we have accessed array element, and then not array element but the array indexes, and then we have assigned this value. We can do one more thing. Instead of doing like this, we can say here itself, okay, this spice rack is going to be an array, and then the value default you can provide here itself. So I can say salt, and then I can say all other values. So it will be considered as a position or index of this array item, not array item but array. So I'll say pepper, and this time it is going to be turmeric. So turmeric, right? And then I will say chili, so I'll say chili here, and then cumin. Let me just save it and see if that works. I will run this program once more, and it should be working in the expected way. We can see that, yeah, it is working in the same way. So if we want to put a default value inside the string, we can do that like this, right? And if we want to change that dynamically later in this program, we should be able to do that as well, but then we should be having the specific index in our hand. So using the index only, we are going to update or modify this specific array item. Got it? So we know that, okay, we can do that. Then how we can delete this item? Okay, of course, we know that even though we have this spice rack array over there, and if we want to delete that, we'll be able to delete that. No, we won't be able to delete that, because we know that array size won't grow. It neither grow or nor shrink, right? So but then all the jar will be there. Only what you can do is you can take out all those items from that specific jar, and then jar will be empty, but jar will for sure be there. Cool. So let's do that. Instead of paper, what I'm going to say here is, okay, this time just empty this jar. I'll just save it and then rerun this code. Let's see what value we are getting over there. So you can see paper is removed actually from there, but then empty jar is placed over there. Empty jar is already there. You cannot remove the jar. That's the concept of array, right? We have a certain specific length. Cool. Now similar to array, and then one more before going to slice, we want to iterate over this array. What if we want to iterate over all of these array items? How can we do that? Or let's say we want to take out only these two values. How can we do that? We don't need, let's say, what if I'll say, okay, take out all those items which is present on index, from index first and then till index third. From here to here, take out all those items. How can you do that? So golang says, okay, it's very easy to do that. So you can say, okay, how can we take, okay, I'll create one more variable here, and I will say, you can say, what's the variable name actually? Variable name, I'm going to say sliced array. You can say you are going to slice an array, cut out this array, take out the items from this specific array. So I will say sliced rack, and then this time I'm going to say, okay, the value will be spice rack. I'll say spice rack, and from the spice rack only we are going to take out these values, right? So not cut, but take out these values. So I will say, okay, spice rack, and then I need to take value from index 1, right? I need to pass 1 over here, and then you need to use column. Okay, you need to use column, and then after that you need to put the end index. That means you are going to take out the value from index first, and then it should take the value till index here. That means first, second, third, right? So at last you cannot say third, because golang says I will exclude this specific index. So this last index, this is going to be the first index from where it will start taking out those values, and then it will go till here. But the golang says last index I won't include. I will exclude the last index value. Then if I need till here, I need to say last index plus 1, that is 4. Let me just save it, and I will just print this sliced rack. So let me run this program and see if that works. You can see here pepper, turmeric and chili, right? We know that first start index is going to be the starting of the index, and then end index should be excluded. So whatever value that we are going to take, it will just give us the value in end index minus 1. Correct? This is how we can take out the values from an array, existing array. And what if, let's say, I won't give any start index? Let's see. It's completely optional in Golang. If you want, you can provide. If you don't want, you cannot provide. You don't want to provide, you don't provide. So let me just save it and clear this console and see how it works. That's the beauty of Golang. So you can see here, even if we won't give, it will work in the expected way. But the thing is, it will consider this index, start index, as a 0. That means it will always start from the 0th index, and then it will go till 4 minus 1. That means 3 till here. It will take out all those value till here. Cool. And what if I'll say don't take this value as well? Let me just save it and see how it works. So now we can see we are getting all those values, right? Correct? And what if I'll just put a start index 0 and then I won't put anything? In this scenario as well, we will get all those values still here. Let's see that in action. Now also we are getting all those values, correct? So you can just play around with this start index as well as the end index, and you will get the value out of that array as a sliced array, correct? This is one way of accessing the value between a certain specific range, that is going to be start and then end. Cool. Now we know that, okay, we can take out the sliced array as well. What else we can do on a array? So we can say, okay, that's completely fine. That's completely fine. And this time I'm going to say, okay, how can we iterate through each of this array item? So for that we need, for that we know Golang has for loop, of course, to perform a repetitive task. So here I'm going to say, okay, range over what? We know that it should be iterative element, iterative variable or data. So it's completely legal. I can range over this, but then I need to assign the value which is coming out of this range. So in this case we are getting value as well as, not value, it is going to be index first. Golang will, if this is an array item, Golang will give you index and then the specific element, actual element which is present there. So I'll say value, and then what I'll do is I'll just console this to check if that is working fine. So here what I'll say, instead of println, I am going to use printf, so that I can print formatted string, and you all know that what is formatted string. So I'll say the value at index, the value at index, and here I'm going to use, since this index will be integer, if you will hover on this, you know this is going to be, index is always going to be integer value, not the float. So here I will say, okay, it's going to be integer, and then value at index this is equals to, we can say equals to, and here we can say the value at index this equals to, we can say the exact value, right? So exact value is going to be of type string, because we know that we are storing a string value in this array. So I will say %s, and then I will provide the specific value so that it can be replaced in the formatting string, right? Let me just save it and run this program once more and see if that works. But then I want each of this loop to be printed on the next line. So I'll say \n, so it will terminate the character to the next line. Let me run it and see how it works. You can see value at index 0 is sort, of course value at index 0 is sort, and then value at first, and so on. So this is how we can use for loop to iterate through each of these specific array item, and then using index we can take out all those items as well, right? So this is nothing but the concept of array, and it's as simple as that. Then what is the meaning of slice in Go? So okay, before reaching slice, since we are in a hurry to reach the slice, right? What's slice actually? That's a new term in programming here in Golang. So before that, I want to show you one more thing. What if, let me just comment this, I will say, okay, this spice rack is there. What if I want to assign one more value to the spice rack? We'll just check if this can grow dynamically. So I'll say, okay, spice rack, and then I'll say assign one more item at index 6th, or let's say 5th, and we can see here 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, because we will have only 4 index from starting from 0, because 0 array is going to store data in at index starting from 0. So I'll say okay, let's assign one more item at index 5, and this time I'm going to say okay, something, right? And then let's just print this array. We'll see what issue is there. So I'll just say spice drag. Let's just save it and run it. You can see index 5 out of bounds. That means 5 index does not exist there, because there won't be any space or container to contain a specific jar which is going to be placed on index 5, because you can see here array index starts from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. We have created only 4 from 0 to 4. There won't be any 5. And here we are assigning the specific jar item as on index 5. That is the exact issue. And this is how we know that okay, array won't allow us to mutate this array won't allow us to dynamically grow or shrink the array items, right? So how can we tackle this? What if, let's say, we want to make it dynamic, we want to make it flexible, so that we should be able to grow it and shrink it as per our requirement. And that should be the way actually, so that let's say we have 10 data, we have 10 jar over there, and then if we are not using that, we should be actually reducing those jars. And if we want to add more jars, we should be able to add more jars as well there. How can we do that, right? To do that, we have a concept of slices in array. That means it is same as array, but then slices can grow dynamically or shrink dynamically at runtime, right? So let's see that how can we do that. So now this time I'm just going to comment this all, and this time I'm going to define this as a slice. So to define a slice, again we know that we have how can we define basically. So in Golang says okay, to make a slice you need to use make function once more, like we saw that in map, right? How can we create a map? We can use make function to create a map. Similarly, we can use make function to create a slice as well. So here I will say spice rack, and I'll say spice rack, and this time it is going to be a slice. So I'll say okay, make a slice of a spice rack. So I will say in this case it is going to be, let's say, slice string of slice, okay, or slice of a string you can say. And then we need to give certain size by default. Okay, by default there won't be, since at the time of construction we are constructing those spice rack at the time of when kitchen is being constructed, right? That will be empty, there won't be any jar, right? Once the construction is completed, then only we are going to put certain jars in that spice rack, correct? So we are going to say okay, by default there won't be any jars, so it will be 0. Cool. So this is how we are going to make a spice rack, and by default the size of this slices will be, of course this is spice rack, in this case is slices. And how we can create that? We know that in case of array we put a static value over there, integer value, so that we can know okay, this array will be of type maximum length 5. That means only 5 items we can keep over there. But in case of slices, we don't have to put that specific size over here, so that we can say it may grow or shrink as per we want, or as per the required functionality, correct? So now this is completely fine. How can we assign the item inside? Now the question is, how can we assign element or the jar inside those specific spice rack, correct? So to assign the specific jar, we need to use append function in the Golang, and let's use that. So I'll say append, okay, and then this append, what this append will do, this append wants this actual spice rack. So first parameter I will just provide spice rack, and then second parameter argument will provide the actual item which we are going to put inside the spice rack. So here I will say, let's say first item I'm going to put salt, and then this append will give you a spice rack back. So I'll say okay, just replace this spice rack with the latest spice rack, because latest spice rack will have salt, correct? So I'll do 5 times or 6 times, as much as you want, and that is completely dynamic. It will grow dynamically in size. And how can we share that? Let's see that. So here I will say okay, spice rack, salt is there, pepper will be there, let's say pepper, and then turmeric. So I'll say turmeric, and then I'll say chili, right? And then I'll say cumin, right? We have these 5 items over there. You can put as many as you want. And then I will show you what is the size of these slices. So I'll say println I'm going to use. So I'll just say okay, how can we take out the size of this specific array or slices? For that we have one more function, that is length, len. So this will give you the size of the iterative data or iterative data type. So I'll say length, and then pass this variable spice rack, right? So I'll just copy it from here as well, and before appending the item I'll check the size. Since we have defined the size as 0, there won't be any size. Let me just, after adding these variables, the size should actually grow, right? And then I will try to do one more thing here. I will try to delete the item from this spice rack as well. So how can we delete item from a spice rack? How can we do that actually? So let's use delete function, for example. So I'll say delete, no, but delete is actually expecting map, so we cannot do that. So how we are going to do that? We'll see that in action. Let's first save this and run this if we'll get the correct output or not. You can see here we have 0 and then we have 5 as well. That means when we created this spice rack, there's 0 item. There's no jar placed inside those spice rack, correct? But then we have assigned 5 jars. We have placed 5 jars over there, and then if we'll print the length, we got 5. Got it? As simple as that, right? In case of array, we won't be able to change that size dynamically, but then we will be able to assign the elements, right? New elements, or modify the new elements. But then how we are going to delete the items from this slice? Is that even possible? Yes, that's of course possible. So let's do that as well. So what if, let's say, you want to delete this item, since we know that in case of slice we won't be having access to index, because we have not defined any size over there. And if we will define that, that means this is no more slices, this will be an array. So in a slice we don't have the concept of indexes. That means we won't be able to access slice items using its indexes. Or let's do that, even we should be able to do that. Let me just spice rack, and I'll say 2. Yeah, we should be able to access using it indexes. But then since this is growing dynamically, right, we are not sure about how much index exists there, and by mistake we can put the index which does not exist. That means the spice rack is not that much lengthy. Then at the runtime we will be getting error. So we should be actually not accessing, only if we are very sure about that, okay, this spice size is of length this much, then only we are going to put the index over there. Otherwise we will be getting issues at the runtime, the program will break. So now here what I'm going to do is, what if we want to delete this turmeric from here, right? How can we do that? So for doing so, we can say that okay, let's use append function once more. All right, and this time this is expecting the array, right? So we'll say okay, that's completely fine. I will give you array, but then this array from where to where? If I will take this item from here to here, that means I will take out this 2 item and then last 2 item, then this item will get deleted automatically, right? We just leave this item, correct? And we know that how can we take out the slice of a specific array or slices? We saw that here, right? How we can take out using that colon operator, right? and then we provide a start index as well as ending index. Basically, in other words, we can say that we can access all those elements inside an array or slices using its start index and then end index, right? Same way we are going to do here. We are going to say, okay, spice track, but this time slice out those values from index 0, let's say. So we don't need to provide 0 actually, so we can say colon and then till index what, 1 2 3. So I'll say 3 because 3 is not included, then of course till here it will take, right? 0 1 2, 2 minus 1, that means 1 here, until it should take until 2. Okay, 0 1 2, that means 2 won't be included, that till 1 it will be including all those items. And then I will say one more, take out all those items starting from index 0 1 2, now 3, right? 3 to last, that means start index is going to be 3, but last element we don't need to provide, it will take automatically. Now we have sliced all those required items, leaving which is not required, right? And then it will give a new spice rack. So I'll say just replace this with the new spice rack. And why we are getting here the error over here? Because we are first parameter, we know that we need to provide an array, that is completely fine, but then second parameter should be all the element, right? But we have provided the exact array over there, it should be the array element. And how can we take out all those elements from here? For that we just need to say take out all those, spread all those elements inside the array out of this array. And how can we do that? You just need to provide 3 dot over there. So I will say 1 2 3, that's it. That means it will take all those items present in this specific array, and of course in this case that is required. Now we have a new spice rack, and then if I'll say print ln and not ln, I will do just control C and paste control V, and we will be able to see if the size grows dynamically or not. That means this item is deleted, this time the size should be 4. So let me just do that and see if that works fine. So we can see here, previously the size was 0, now the size is 4 because one element we have deleted from here. And before deleting also you can check the size of this specific slices and see if that works. So let me run it once more and see if it is working fine. It's taking this much of time, it should not take this much of time. Yeah, we can see here by default it was 0 at the time of when we created those spice rack, and then after we put 5 different spices over there in that rack, 5 different jar over there in that rack, and then we deleted one element or one jar from there, we removed out those jars, then we will be having only 4 jar left over there, and it will be of length 4 only, it won't be occupying that space anymore. So this is how we can play with this, we can create the slices. And this is actually efficient if you don't know about how much data you are going to keep in the specific array or slices, or how much data you will be having in your hand. In that case this is very efficient, and this can grow dynamically and then shrink dynamically as well, so that the variable or the array won't take much space in your memory. Alright, so that's the concept of basically slices, and that's the difference between slices and an array. And then of course we can iterate over all these items using this for loop once more. How can we do that? Let me just copy this from here and show it here. So here I'm just going to paste it, and I will just uncomment this. Let me save it and run this program once more so that you guys will be able to see if it is working fine. You can see here now we have a spice drag of length 4, and then starting from index 0 1 2 3, and all the way we have all those variable or element present over there. So this is what array and slices in golang. So thank you guys, I hope you understand it well, and if you guys are having any difficulty, please let me know in the comment section. I will try to answer all those as early as possible. Thank you once more, and we'll meet in the next videos.